Well, it's happening. In 2021, we are getting the Snyder Cut. So here are the top 5 things I want to see in the Snyder Cut, and the top 4 things I'd like them to keep from the original theatrical cut. What is your list of these things? Let's talk in the comments. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and these are the top 5 things I want to see in the Snyder Cut of Justice League, and the top 4 things that I kind of like them to keep from the original theatrical cut. Are you excited that we are getting the Snyder Cut of the Justice League? Now, here's something I do understand. I don't think this is going to be the Snyder Vision of the Justice League. This is just going to be the Snyder Cut of this movie, because I think the Snyder Vision is he wrote a 2-part Justice League. After Batman vs. Superman came out and there was all these adverse reactions to it, he was told to make one Justice League movie and had to take that stuff and fold it into one film and one script. So either way, we're not getting the total vision of what the Snyder Vision was going to be, but I am still incredibly curious to get that same feel and that same tone that we had in Batman vs. Superman, and to kind of just see that same story and timeline continue forward. So that's what I'm very much so looking forward to with the Snyder Cut. So for you, what are some things that you want to see them do in the Snyder Cut, and what are some things you want to see them keep? Let's talk in the comments. Number 1, the Nightmare Vision. This is actually an incredibly interesting scene, but as things are now, it's kind of left hanging in this weird, awkward place, because it is kind of weird to watch, right? You have Bruce Wayne in the Batcave, he's decrypting some files. You hear this, and it goes black, and then he has this weird nightmare about the future. Then he wakes up from the nightmare to the Flash, giving him a future message, which the message itself is actually pretty slick.
Am I too soon? I'm too soon!
When the Flash disappears, Bruce wakes up a second time. What this does in the film is it gives Bruce even more fear about Superman, because he's had a glimpse of the future, and Superman killed him in the future. Superman was evil in the future, working with these parademons, which Bruce doesn't know what they are at this point. It's just a freaking nightmare. And so it's a very frightening thing, and I think it feeds into Bruce Wayne's character to try to be a hero and defeat Superman, and it also plays into the rage and bitterness that has really grown up in him from stuff we didn't see. So I think it's a smart vision, and it's cool for the time travel aspect, but I want to see that become concrete and not this awkward hanging thing, because I want that explained. Like, how did that work? Why did he see that vision when the Flash was traveling back in time? Was it a rift in the space-time continuum that connected the two consciousness of the Bruce Waynes, and so that's how he saw that future? Like, things like that would be interesting for me to dive into, but it would also be interesting, like, how does present-day Barry Allen react to Bruce explaining that vision? And we all know Wonder Woman was not for bringing Superman back from the dead, that it would be a very strange thing, and would he be the same Superman? But, talking about this nightmare vision would actually, put more weight to that. I mean, it already had weight, the whole pet cemetery fear, but it would give it a little bit more weight to that pet cemetery fear, like, would he become this evil thing? Would it be better to keep him dead and buried? So it would be more interesting, instead of just leaving that hanging in this awkward place, to fold that back into the plot and give us more context for it so that I can understand it better, because it is a cool scene and I want to understand it better. Number 2, Flash and time travel. I've heard and read rumors that the idea in the Snyder Cut is we were going to see Flash play with his time travel abilities a little bit more. I mean, things like they lose to Steppenwolf, and then the Flash travels back in time a little bit and explains to Cyborg how to interface with the mother boxes so that they could defeat Steppenwolf. Now, on the one hand, this can make time travel a convenient thing, like Superman turning the Earth backwards in Superman the movie. But, I mean, who knows? What does that mean, that the Flash was going to play with time travel and learn how to time travel? Maybe time travel's pretty dire. Maybe in time traveling, he makes several mistakes that he now has to clean up before he gets to this point of them learning how to defeat Steppenwolf. I don't know. But again, it goes back to the whole nightmare vision. We know that he can time travel. We know that somehow he figures time travel out. So it would have been interesting, even if just to a small degree, we saw them address that in this movie. Number 3, more Ray Fisher. I feel like I can tell that Cyborg was supposed to be the heart of the movie. But through all the reshoots and all the editing and all the stuff that they did, his role was definitely cut down. Especially when you watch BVS and you see how much of the mother box kind of vanishes and just forms the cybernetics all over his body. And there's lots of rumors concerning that. I'm curious of what the Snyder Cut is going to do with that. On top of the fact that in those older trailers, you see him playing football, you see him walking in his leather jacket. I would just like to see more of that. If he was supposed to be the heart of Justice League and we restore that, it's definitely going to give Justice League more heart. Makes sense, right? Number 4, Martian Manhunter. I really like Martian Manhunter, and I thought it was the coolest thing to hear General Swanwick was Martian Manhunter. Like when Zack Snyder dropped that piece of revelation, it was cool. It also raised a ton of questions, like in Man of Steel, the whole fight in the city of Metropolis. Where was Martian Manhunter helping? Maybe he was helping. Maybe we didn't see him help, but maybe it's because of him more people are alive. I don't know. That's me going into a total goofy speculation. But doesn't it raise the question, where was he in Man of Steel? Why didn't he step out and use his powers in that one? Where was he in Batman vs. Superman? Why didn't he step out and use his powers and help with Doomsday? And he wasn't even in Justice League. Like, the whole character wasn't in the theatrical version. So I would be very curious to have these questions answered. There is precedent in Smallville for him to be somebody that is being watchful rather than somebody that's constantly engaging. I don't remember every detail of that story arc, but there was a story arc in Smallville where the Martian Manhunter was kind of Kal-El's hidden, silent guardian. So he didn't really interfere. He wasn't to interfere with Kal-El's growth and development unless it was dire. The idea was just to kind of protect him and keep him in his destiny without really stepping out into the public eye. So I would be curious to know if that's more of the role that he played, and then finally in Justice League he had to step out into the light. So I want to know more about Martian Manhunter. Number 5, the cliffhanger ending. I don't feel like this movie needs to wrap up for me. It doesn't. Give me the cliffhanger ending. In fact, I would like to see not just the Snyder Cut, but the Snyder Vision. I don't know how much more you'd have to reshoot for that, but if the original Snyder Vision was a 2-part Justice League, seriously, I don't want them to feel compelled for this movie to have an ending where things wrap up nice and neat. Give me a cliffhanger. And if we never get Justice League Part 2, that's fine. I'm just more interested to get the general idea of the story arc of where things were going to go. I want to see generally the idea that they had planned for this. Even if we never get that Part 2, don't hold back. Give me that cliffhanger ending. Don't try to wrap things up nicely. Give me what you intended. And here are the top 4 things they need to keep. Or, another way I could word this is, my top 4 positives with the theatrical cut. Number 1, Barry and Bruce Wayne meeting. That was just a fantastic scene where he steps into the Speed Force, he grabs the Batarang, and he's like, "You're Batman?" And Batman's like, "I've been putting together a team." He's like, "Yes, I'm in."
I need friends.
I mean, that scene is just freaking hilarious. I liked Ezra Miller as Barry Allen. I think that'd be very cool to keep that. That was a really cool meeting between Barry and Bruce. It also cuts the tension a little bit when Bruce is trying to get Aquaman to join them, and he's like, no. And finally he meets this kid, and he's like, "Yes, I need friends." Like, it's pretty hysterical. Number 2, the Flash and Superman eye lock. Yeah. They have to keep that moment. When Superman is resurrected and he's taking on the Justice League, they have to keep that moment when Barry is running and then Superman locks eyes with him and is able to track with him as he's running. The expression on both of their faces is classic and awesome.
We mean bring him back in like a yay, he's back way, not in like a Pet Cemetery scenario.
You lose something when you die. Even Superman.
Number 3, the debate about bringing Superman back. Now, I touched on this earlier, but that was something I found interesting even in the theatrical cut, even without the nightmare vision. The idea of if we bring him back, who's he really gonna be? Is he gonna be the same Superman? Is there gonna be some severe brain damage? Because as far as we know, he's dead. What does that mean bringing him back? And is it just safer to leave him dead? But now you throw in the nightmare vision, and you throw in Bruce Wayne revealing to them the future that he saw. That just takes that and makes it all the more intense. The debate, the divide of whether to bring Superman back or not. So I enjoyed that in the theatrical cut, even without that extra weight on it, just kind of that divide of should we or shouldn't we. And so I think it'd be even cooler to keep that argument alive, but make it more intense by having Bruce Wayne reveal his vision of the future. Number 4, Superman versus the Justice League. Yeah, it goes without saying this just needs to be in there. I mean, how cool is it when Superman resurrects, his mind isn't quite right yet, you know, full memories haven't restored, whatever it was. It was cool to see him going up against the Justice League, them with all of their abilities, and just him by himself with all of his abilities. That was a really, really cool scene that I think showcases the strength and power of Superman, and I would very much so like to see that with more stuff, more cool things going on around it. So that's it for me. Those are the 5 things that I think they should add to the Snyder Cut and the 4 things they should keep from the original cut. Now your turn. What are things you want to see in the Snyder Cut, and what are things you want them to keep from the original theatrical cut? Let's talk about that in the comments. And while you're there, hit that subscribe button to become a Durbanian, and hit that bell by the subscribe button so you're notified the next time I drop a video like this, a ranking video, movie review, a theological analysis, or anything else I do here. I'm Durbin. Thanks for checking out Durbania.